For decades, India's missile program has operated behind heavily guarded gates. Agni, Akash, Astra, Pralay, BrahMos. Those are not products you could simply build in a private factory. They were developed by DRDO, manufactured largely by state owned defense companies, and treated as strategic assets too important to leave to the private sector. But now Delhi is preparing to change that. For the first time in India's history, private companies are about to build missiles, reportedly. Not parts, not components, missiles from start to finish. Now, the government is reportedly preparing to open up one of the most guarded sectors in Indian defense, and it could reshape how India arms itself and who it arms. Here's what's changing and why it's happening now. So, India has slowly opened its defense sector to private players over the past decade. Aircrafts, components, drones, artillery systems, naval platforms all have been fair game for private industry. But missiles were always the exception. Too strategic, too sensitive, kept firmly inside state-run organizations like the DRDO and Bharat Dynamics Limited. That wall is coming down. The Defense Ministry is preparing to let domestic companies design, develop, and manufacture missiles on their own, which is a first. The reported reason of this is simple. Demand has outpaced what the government's own factories can produce. Today, the Indian military wants more missiles, far more missiles, and foreign countries increasingly want Indian missiles too. Which brings us to the problem Delhi is now trying to solve. Capacity. India's missile demand is growing faster than existing production lines can support, and that is forcing policymakers to rethink old assumptions. The first missile likely to be open to private manufacturers is Astra Mark II. And this is no ordinary missile. Astra Mark II is India's next generation beyond visual range air-to-air missile. Its reported engagement range is around 180 to 200 kilometers. In practical terms, that means an Indian fighter could potentially engage an enemy aircraft long before the pilot even sees it. The missile was specifically designed with modern aerial warfare in mind, and importantly, it was developed to counter threats such as China's PL-15 family of long-range air-to-air missiles. The same class of missile technology that has become increasingly relevant in India's security calculations. The Astra Mark II is expected to arm platforms including the Tejas Mk-1A, Su-30 MKI, MiG-29, Rafale Marine. In other words, it could become one of the standard air combat weapons across multiple Indian fighter fleets. And now, according to reports, the Defense Ministry is planning to invite private companies to compete for manufacturing these missiles. Names being discussed include Tata Group, Mahindra Group, Bharat Forge, ICOMM. Think about that for a second. Some of India's largest industrial groups could soon be building frontline air combat missiles. That is a major shift. So why now? The answer may lie in a lesson India drew from recent conflicts. Operation Sindoor highlighted something military planners around the world already knew. Modern warfare is increasingly becoming a missile war. Not tank wars, not infantry wars, missile wars. The side that can launch more precision weapons faster and at longer ranges often gains the advantage. Whether it is Ukraine, whether it is the Middle East, or whether it is South Asia, the pattern is becoming difficult to ignore. Standoff weapons are becoming the currency of military power. You don't always need to cross the border. You need the ability to strike accurately from a distance, and that requires inventory. Lots of inventory. Missiles simply cannot be designed. They must be produced at scale, stored, replenished, and exported. That is where private sector manufacturing suddenly looks or starts to look very attractive, because private industry brings something governments often struggle to create quickly: scale, speed, and competition. As the Astra missile may or not be the only one. It may just in fact be the beginning. Reports suggest that Pralay could become the next major missile system open to private participation. Pralay is a tactical ballistic missile with a range of roughly 500 kilometers. It travels at hypersonic speeds and is designed for rapid precision strikes against high-value targets, and it forms part of a broader ecosystem India is now building. An ecosystem that includes extended-range Pinaka systems, long-range land attack cruise missiles, next-generation BrahMos variants, integrated rocket forces are part of that. Now notice the trend. India is moving towards a missile-centric force structure, much like several major military powers around the world. The objective is straightforward: create enough firepower to deter adversaries before a conflict even begins. And if deterrence fails, ensure that India can respond rapidly and at scale. And this isn't only about India, it's also about customers abroad. Indonesia has already expressed interest in Astra. BrahMos exports are expanding. Countries across Southeast Asia, the Gulf and Africa are increasingly evaluating Indian defense systems. So there's an export angle too. Letting private companies into missile manufacturing doesn't just solve a domestic production bottleneck. It positions India to scale up and compete as a serious defense exporter, building on the momentum we've already seen with BrahMos deals across Asia. More manufacturers, more capacity, more missiles for India's own forces and for buyers abroad. For decades, missile making in India meant one thing: government labs, government factories, government control. That era is ending. Private industry is about to enter the most sensitive corner of India's defense establishment, and how well that transition goes could determine whether India becomes a true missile powerhouse or just talks like one. This is Times Axis, where global stories meet India's perspective. Click on the bell icon to subscribe, because the next big global shift will have India at its center.
If they had a nuclear weapon,
The old rules are breaking. Alliances are shifting.
Apologize again to the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Wars are redrawing maps. Oil routes can shake economies overnight. One election in America can impact markets in Mumbai.
no tax on tips.
One move by China can alter the balance in Asia. One conflict in West Asia can hit every Indian household. This is no longer a distant story. This is our story. Your story. Because for the first time in decades, India is not watching from the sidelines. India is rising. India is negotiating. India is balancing rivals. India is building military strength. India is shaping trade routes. India is becoming central to the new global order. And yet, most global news is still told through someone else's lens. Washington's lens, Beijing's lens, London's lens. But where is India's lens? Where is the platform that explains the world from our perspective? Welcome to India's Axis, a new destination for geopolitics, strategy and power seen through India's eyes. From Neighborhood Watch to the biggest global stories that matter to you. Why tensions in the Taiwan Strait matter to India. How one move by China can affect India's security. What turmoil in Pakistan means for regional stability. How Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan shape India's neighborhood. Why oil choke points can hit your wallet. How wars abroad can reshape India's security. This is not noise. This is not shouting. This is not recycled headlines. This is sharp, intelligent storytelling. Daily explainers, war room analysis, strategic conversations. Because news is everywhere, but perspective is rare, and in the age of confusion, clarity is power. Axis is for the audience that wants more than headlines. The axis of global power is shifting. India is at the center of that shift. It's time the world was explained accordingly, to understand the world through India's strategic lens. Subscribe now.